Today on General Hospital, Christina turns to Sonny for advice. Sam suggests Molly's focused on the wrong problem, and Alexis gives Esme words to consider if she wants people to give her a chance. Sasha, Maxie, and Gladys arrive at the Metro Court pool and grab a table by the bar. Maxie has arranged for a good friend at the Invader, Elise, to interview Sasha and will be sympathetic to her side of the story. Maxie notes she doesn't have to do this interview, and the story that broke didn't identify her. Gladys trusts Sasha's impulse to get ahead of the story. Gladys spots Cody across the way and complains he is the last thing they need now. Sasha says he has a right to be here, but Gladys calls him a distraction. Maxie says she'll talk to Cody. Once alone, Gladys reminds Sasha to take her meds. Maxie approaches Cody and he says he swears he didn't know they were going to be here, and it's his day off. Maxie says Sasha is meeting a reporter to tell her side of the story after a blind item came out in the Sun about the incident, and she really needs to focus, so he could at least put a shirt on. Cody thinks confessing will only make things worse for Sasha. Meanwhile, Gladys begins to think perhaps this interview was a bad idea. Sasha panics and tries to cancel, but Elise the report shows up and introduces herself. Sasha thinks she's early, so Elise says they can postpone if they need more time to prepare. Sasha reuses as she's ready for this. Meanwhile, Maxie sees Elise is here and begs Cody to just not come over to their table. He asks her to just take care of Sasha. Maxie rejoins Sasha, Gladys, and Elise, and Maxie explains what happened at Logan's was a big mistake. She notes Sasha's been out for a while and wasn't clear on the agreement Deception had with Logan's about borrowing items. Elise was hoping Sasha would speak for herself, and given all the pain she's been through, their readers what to know how she copes and continues moving forward. Sasha explains she has to move forward and continue with life. Gladys gets annoyed that Cody is still there, walks over, and tells him to beat it as he's a distraction. As Gladys berates Cody, Elise asks Sasha about her involvement with Cyrus Renault. Maxie says that's not the topic, and some things are off limits. Suddenly, as Sasha watches Gladys with Cody, Cody morphs into Cyrus. She struggles but blinks Cyrus away and Cody reappears. Maxie sees something is wrong with Sasha and suggests they need to reschedule this interview, but Sasha refuses. As Gladys keeps badgering Cody about bothering Sasha tries to talk to Elise about the trauma she's been through and the stigma of mental health. Suddenly, Cody turns into Cyrus again. Sasha panics and Maxie asks Sasha what is wrong. Gladys continues to tell Cody he is to go nowhere near Sasha and begins poking him. He asks her to stop touching him, and she begins shoving him, so Cody grabs her wrist and tells her to stop. Suddenly Sasha grabs a knife from the bar, rushes Cody and stabs him in the back. He turns, looks at her, and asks why before collapsing. Sasha stands there holding a bloody knife as everyone is in shock. Alexis finds Esme going through boxes in her office and asks what she's doing. Esme explains she was being proactive and was moving the boxes when the lid fell off one. Alexis asks if that makes her think she can go through her documents. Esme couldn't help but notice they are all on her and asks if she is doing a story about her. Alexis says not that she deserves an explanation, but the documents are about Heather and Ryan's reign of terror in Port Charles. She has a reporter working on a story about that. Esme begs Alexis not to do this story. She would hope Alexis as a Cassadine would have some compassion. Alexis stops her and says her family is complicated, but she's worked hard to establish herself as her own person apart from them. She points out that Esme still has done nothing to earn a clean slate, even if she doesn't remember her past. Alexis admits she's been civil to her, but she and nobody else trusts her. To change that, Alexis suggests she look at herself, her past, and face what she did. Christina drops by Sonny's and tells him she has a problem. She filed for the wrong building permit for the center and is now in violation of some laws. She feels just like everything else in her life, she's having her foundation ripped out from under her. He tells her not to be hard on herself, she's never done this before, and offers to make some calls. She says this is her mistake and she'll fix it. Sonny brings up her mom feeling she could use support, and Christina immediately rants about her mother going behind her back. Sonny says her mom hinted it was her story to tell and she didn't want to betray her confidence. Christina vents that nobody seems to trust her to make decisions about her own life. Sonny admits he's flying blind here, so help him out. Christina says she made an offer to help Molly, which she told Mom and Sam about, and they told her that she wasn't thinking this through and had no idea what she was getting into. She says Molly found out what she was going to do, and her sister acted as if it was the worst thing she's ever done. Sonny suggests she needs to figure out why it was important for her to help Molly and have a conversation with her. He says they love one another and can't let this come between them. Christina thanks him for having her back and caring about her. Sonny reminds her she's not alone. Christina heads out. After Christina leaves, Sonny calls Alexis. Back in Alex's office, Alexis spots Esme fiddling with the boxes and orders her to leave and shut the door. In the hall, Esme pulls a paper she swiped from the box out of her blouse. It indicates that Heather has been moved to Pentonville. Molly, now played by Brooke Ann Brown, stops by Sam's and vents to her about Christina discussing being her and TJ's surrogate with everyone but her and TJ. Sam tells her that Mom came by earlier, and they had no idea she overheard what Christina said at the club. Molly says TJ was furious, but Sam says Christina was only trying to help. Molly says this is her and TJ's problem to figure out, not Christina's, and she doesn't know if their relationship will ever be the same. She vents Christina has to make everything about her. Sam suggests Molly's issue may not be with Christina, but with her and Mom for spending so much time focusing on Christina. Molly swears this is about Christina, who is trying to be the savior and center of attention. Sam tells her sister to take a step back, and that is not why Christina wanted to do this. Christina wants them to be parents, and it was an impulsive idea, but she had good intentions. Sam points out Molly didn't hear the whole conversation, and Christina was going to wait until she and TJ decided to go forward with surrogacy before saying anything to her. Sam doesn't understand why she's directing all her anger at Christina. Molly cries that Christina doesn't want a kid, but she does and can't have one while Christina can, and that's not fair. Molly breaks down about dreaming about being pregnant, about going through sonograms, and TJ putting his hand on her belly. Sam says Christina knows she's having a hard time and suggests they talk. Molly says she isn't going to talk to Christina, and Christina be the bigger person and figure out what she's done. Sam asks if Christina doesn't say the right things to her, what then? Molly suggests they'll need time apart. Trina meets Taggart at Kelly's and he asks how she's doing. She's trying to support Mom and she pauses and says Curtis as he might never wake up. Taggart reminds her that she has a family who loves and supports her, and she's not going through this alone. She admits being here with him makes her feel like she's giving up on Curtis. She also admits everything has been so crazy and she hasn't been making time for him, as she's been so focused on figuring out her relationship with Curtis. She worries they haven't been connecting the same way and are struggling since they learned the truth. Taggart doesn't think they are struggling, and nothing they learned has changed how he feels about her. He also knows she's going through that period when she's growing up and doesn't need her parents as much. Trina says she's not focused on growing up, but finding out where she comes from. Taggart says Curtis is the one to help her with that. He also knows Curtis will pull through this. She hopes he's right as she doesn't know what she'd do if she lost the chance to get to know him. She has to get back to the hospital, and they hug one another goodbye. Once she's gone, Taggart pours some booze into his coffee. At the hospital, Portia sits with Curtis and urges him to wake up. Spencer arrives and apologizes for intruding. Portia says Trina went to have breakfast with her dad, if that was who he was looking for. He thanks her and offers to get out of her hair. Marshall stops in and asks Portia if there has been any change. She says no, and all they can do is wait. She says Spencer stopped by looking for Trina, and thankfully he left when she told him where Trina was. Marshall says Spencer is sitting in the waiting room and doesn't look to be leaving anytime soon. Portia goes out to the waiting room to see Spencer. She tells him that Trina has been struggling lately, and Spencer knows he should be more attentive. However, he's been pulled in a lot of directions, and Trina has been very supportive of his dedication to his brother. He says no matter what happens with his brother, he could never hurt Trina as she's the best thing that has happened to him. Portia asks if he's the best thing that's happened to Trina. Spencer doesn't know but thinks he can't be the worst thing. Portia says from her point of view, all the terrible things that have happened to Trina have been because of him. Portia says Trina was arrested for filming revenge porn, which was Esme's doing, and he brought Esme to Port Charles. Spencer doesn't disagree with her, but he and Trina have worked past that. Spencer knows Trina should probably run from him, but she's chosen not to. He thinks they are good for each other and make each other happy. She notes that he still chose to live with Esme, and she doesn't think he makes Trina happy at all. Spencer doesn't like living with Esme either, but he's stuck with her for now. Portia agrees he is, but Trina doesn't have to be. Portia says if he cares for Trina, then let her go. Trina arrives and is happy to see Spencer. She embraces him and explains she just came from breakfast with her dad. Meanwhile, Marshall sits with Curtis, who begins to wibble his finger. Marshall runs out and tells Portia to come quickly as he thinks Curtis is waking up. Portia and Trina rush in to see Curtis, who begins to open his eyes. Portia cries, "Welcome back, my love."